These Mangudai right now hit as hard as horse archers from the Rus. And they aren't even in elite. They're not even veteran stats, right? They're not even a Castle Age unit yet. He hasn't even got that upgrade. Let's get ready to go because we've got quite a hype one. It's Viper versus B. Let's get underway. No time to waste at all. As it's back on the hill and dale. It feels like we see Viper on this map so often at the moment. And he's going to be playing as the English. A Civ that we have seen him get ultra aggressive and rush his opponents with on occasion. But he's up against a Civ that can do the same. Like, this is always a fun one to me. I think this is one of the funner matchups to watch, the English versus Mongols. Especially since the English got buffed and the Mongols got nerfed. They're more kind of balanced in terms of their power, I feel. And it leads to very interesting matches because of the heavy reliance upon outposts for both sides, right? For the English, it's all about that attack speed buffer from the network of castles. And then on the other side, for the Mongols, Yam is just as critical of a component. Also, with the nerfs around mangonels and siege as a viable heavy composite, I feel like that really benefited the English because they were one of these civs that really struggled to build into it, right? When you thought about the Abbasids and their win rate up against English in previous patches, when you think about the Mongols as well, their ability to just build siege out in the field overwhelm their opponents. Now, with the changes to mangonels especially, all of a sudden the English are able to dominate in certain situations courtesy of their trebuchets. So kind of curious to see if it's going to rely upon siege, if we're going to see a heavy reliance upon outposts, and who's going to make that move first, especially considering that we are talking about two civs that can play towards those relics in the midfield and the mid-game. I think that's going to be very important, especially considering one of these players is Viper, a player that we've just come to expect it at this stage. I feel like he's probably one of the most frequent engages of relics in the game, right? And he does it so quick when he reaches castle. And he's not alone in his ability to do so in this game because obviously the Mongols rush castle all the time. And when they do, they get the double production of Pred. And B, also willing to go towards that, as we've seen frequently. We're getting ahead of ourselves. What we're going to look for first is whether someone's going to try to get maybe a little bit cheeky with an outpost drop, because that's something that's a lot more feasible in this new generation. It's why we've seen a lot of players starting to engage in early aggressive outposts, even if they're not necessarily Mongols. We've seen the Chinese do it, we've seen the English do it, simply because you can deny resources more easily. The old generation was kind of perplexing because you ended up with two giant wood lines on the high ground, and usually they would generate in weird ways that they would block off part of the entrance to one of the ramps, or maybe they just made it not feasible to bypass the TC. Now with the change to there only being one wood line, you can see that if you were to sneak into your opponent's base, you could just wrap around very easily, right? You're not going to be in TC5. You go left or right here. Same with the Mongols. Like the Mongols, of course, because they moved the wood line, they cut off this area, but you can easily wrap in on the east side and the south side here with little resistance. So that's why I think outpost value or outpost rushing on Hill and Dale has seen a tremendous increase in value. Is simply because it's so much less RNG, right? Because when we used to have those generations we're talking about where it would spawn on the ramps, you were essentially flipping a coin on whether it was even feasible to outpost in the first place. B. Well, let's talk about his spawn here. He got a really good one, actually. Wood and gold right next to each other. Uvu close by with a double pasture. This looks like a full-on castle rush. And Viper, well, he isn't showing signs of feudal rushing. 3 minutes in, gathering at a reasonable pace, but nothing insane on the gold. Looks like he's switching up to 4 now, though. However, he did go for the wheelbarrow, so I'm expecting this to be about 4 farms before a tech up. And it might be that he just tries to cruise castle as quickly as possible. And then you do need to be a little bit careful because the Mongols can have the edge over you. Their castle age is quite vicious and fast. And on top of that, when they do arrive in castle, because of the way the Uvu functions, they can push more knights than you initially. And the knights are going to matter because I am expecting both players to go towards the monks in this game. B in the meantime will get access to his tech up. Should be a deer stone. Or not. Okay, I'm on board. I was like, should be a deer stone, and then I saw him walk away from the TC, and I kind of like, I didn't want to jinx it. I was like, I think I know what's happening here, but I don't want to ruin it. He's going for the trade. This is a pretty interesting play on Hill and Dale as well. Like, it's quite feasible because of the location of the marketplaces. And the way you get value is exactly how B's doing. The reason it's kind of a giveaway he wants to do Silver Tree is once he moved towards the Uvu. Because if you build the Silver Tree here, or you move it here, in range of the Uvu, you can double produce the traders. Which is very efficient because you've got this passive stone stored up. Unless your intent is to harass with lances in the castle age, realistically, it's just kind of like dead weight extra resource. This way, it unlocks a new win condition. And what he's playing off the back of is the assumption that Viper isn't going to be aggressive. The Viper himself is probably just thinking of rushing up into castle and then maybe going into knights himself. And he'd be right. Because this build from Viper, although he hasn't built much in the way of farms right now, he still hasn't pulled a single villager to try and build an outpost. It's a delayed timing up at 5 minutes. This feels more like you're maybe going to get 6 longbows max and then try to boom up. And all B has to do to offset that is drop an outpost at the front of the base here, then drop another one near these gold veins, and then a final one on the trade post. At which point, your longbows can't do anything. I also love the stable prep. So B is willing to admit that he might be raided, and he wants to prep for it. Oh, Viper doesn't know! Wow, and the Horsemen are going to bait him as well. So Viper's now going to get baited into a defensive format because of the stable. He doesn't check deep enough. If Viper just went a little bit deeper, he'd have the most important detail, the most important piece of information possible in this game. But instead, he doesn't see it. And instead, he will now be forced away because the Horsemen move quicker than the Scouts. Wow. Wow. 1 tile difference, folks. That's the difference. That's how much it matters. Like, vision is important. And Viper, the way B played this was perfect. He dangles the stable. He doesn't do it reactionary. He proactively builds it. And then the assumption from Viper is going to be that his opponent is pushing Horsemen to control the midfield, making sure that Viper has to be present or he can't, go for longbows only. And now Viper is in an awkward situation where either he pivots into Spearman and he's invested heavily in Feudal, or more likely, he just says, I'm going to boom up. And that's exactly what he does. He goes on the stone. He gets the second TC. Viper is going to play greedy, but so is B. B, however, is going to do it in a way that is going to not be known by Viper. Wow. We'll see if he spots it now coming out. I mean, this is important. B needs to deny vision. Already rushing up to 6 traders. He is zooming right now, baby. Courtesy of the double production we talked about. 74 wood, 36 gold, and then 112 stone to get that double up. And now he's going to peel it back so they're not going out the front of the base. But no, no, no! Viper sees it! Uh-oh. B, where did you go? Why is your Horseman over here? That is important info fed back, and now Viper has a choice. He can try to invest in a few Horsemen of his own to deny this. It might be worthwhile. B. In the meantime, we'll go to the outright back corner. Absolute longest distance possible he's looking for here. Generation not favorable for what he's doing here, mind you, because of where the stone walls, or where the mountains rather end. These traders should always go out the front of the base. Realistically, you want them to go out the back. I'll have to see for sure, but I do feel like if you look at this line, like just look at the line on the minimap, it should be a shorter distance to go to the north here than it is to the south. You can even see it on the, like, if you see the line here and then you see on the map, like, yeah, they're going to go out front, I think. So that is going to leave him exposed. He will need to get the outpost down ASAP. And of course, the scout did attack the caravan, so he knew about it. And now he knows he's revealed. This means that B is going to be forced to invest in additional military force to hold the midfield. He's going to go for the additional scout. I like this play. Just trying to maintain vision could be a good idea. Wait, did he cancel that? I actually like the idea of a second scout. An additional scout will allow you to just maintain any sort of info on your opponent's base while prowling the midfield. And here we go. Viper now in the rack, so he's going to respond. I think see the trade route. You'll see very clearly B, his trader is going to be the north side, so he will need to insulate this with outposts. However, I think he's trying to delay it for a castle timing, so he can just go outpost into Springwood upgrade straight away. Do love the Mangudai idea, though. This is pretty hype. So now B is going to dictate flow on the midfield, and he's going to see what Viper's doing, right? Like, so Viper, although he's going for the Lombos, Horsemen plus Mangudai are going to just run rampant over you. Yes, the Mangudai suck independently against the Lombos, but it's the Horsemen that are going to run you through. The Mangudai are just there to ensure that the Spearmen get peppered down whenever they try to pursue the Horsemen. That's actually one of the weird dynamics at play to consider here. Like, you can never use the Spearmen aggressively. You always have to stay on top of the Lombos, because if you peel the Spearmen away, Mangudai are going to pepper them. Mangudai have 3.5 tower range compared to the Lombos 7. So it means that at any stage, if you're just even remotely apart from the Lombos, Mangudai are on the drive-by without needing you to focus fire upon them, going to focus their fire upon the spears. They won't accidentally fire on Lombos instead, meaning you'll be getting rid of the front line quicker, and that will then give access to the Horsemen of B to just run through these Lombos. Outpost being constructed up. Oh. Villager has to run away. A few horsemen out. Are going to just target this down. One spearman's not going to be enough to deter them either. So you're going to lose the longbows. Khan's going to stand his ground as well. And you can already see more horsemen coming out. The Mangudai as well. Like this trade, it's going to look a little bit dodgy. Viper is pulling villagers, though. He wants to try and get outposts up himself to have that staging point. I think the horsemen are just going to overwhelm him, though. And you see a secondary outpost going up. A little bit more defensive from B. Has got the trade still going. Needs that Yam ASAP. Meantime, horsemen are going to deny his own outpost going up. So now he's peeled back in the meantime by B. B being a pain in the ass here. Having that mobility, having that frustration he gives over. And now with the Mangudai up to 4, this is where it starts to fall in favor of B. As Viper will quickly begin to lose the spears. Attack speed arrow coming out. So he can easily pepper them down. Targets out the villagers to make sure that the outpost doesn't go up. Doesn't want to give attack speed over to his opponent. But the Mangudai not able to do it. Will finish off the last villager. And now he needs to will this away. And remember, this is not too pricey for B, by the way. Mangudai is the thing he can afford right now because the trade is providing a lot of gold. And although it does require a lot of food as well, it means he's able to free everyone off the gold line, stick them on food, push more pastures with the influx of wood, and then just rely upon trade for everything else. That means that eco-wise, you can see B is vastly ahead, despite the fact that Viper went for 2 TCs. It's because of all these traders. Mangudai wasting more time. No more villagers pulled just yet for Viper. But a lot more troops coming out. Somewhat unanswered by B. He does need to escalate his production rate. But he's stretching his resources thin. One of the problems of going for Horseman and Mangudai is there's a heavy demand on food. Right now, he only has 3 pastures. Really needs to get a fort soon. See Mangudai. This is what we're talking about, the longbowmen. That's the thing you have to be worried about. The way this works, as we already highlighted, you need to separate them. If the spearmen come a little bit too far forward, the Mangudai will target them out, and that will free up an opportunity for the horsemen to ride through. That's in critical detail to this succeeding. In fact, that Viper needs to be careful about. Okay, B's not going to go for it. It would have been a little bit of a bait, but he might have had an opportunity to go straight for the longbows there. Traders are starting to be targeted out, but you can see they're going for the garrison, so it's not going to be easy to blitz. And what on... Okay. B has switched it up. And Viper is aware. He's like, wait a second. I haven't seen the traders in a while. There's no way you're AFKing them. He switches to a different trade post. And already Viper moves a longbowman over there, anticipating the move. This is what I expect out of one of the top 10 players in the game. Reads him beautifully. Now Viper will start shifting the north. One of the frustrating details for him is that obviously because you are building longbows and spearmen, it's infantry, right? It's static force. So now moving to the other side of the map is going to take some time. Time that B is trying to use to get up more outposts and outmaneuver his opponent. And in fact, you need to be a little bit careful, Viper, because you can be caught off guard by this. One horseman peeled off to deal with the longbow. So the traders will begin to renew the income for B. And that outpost... Oh, that's a big no-no, my friend. That is a big no-no. That's going to be 2 more villages sunk for Viper. The good news, at least, is B did slow down the rate that he's producing more traders, so the eco lead is shrinking quick here. However, he will at least ensure the outpost doesn't go up. And the outpost now being constructed on the south side. A big deal for Viper. Is he looking to deny the trade as the trade was switching again for B? Outpost will go up. Oh, this is starting to get a little bit perplexing for B. He can't react on 2 fronts, not when it's builders who are sneaking in like this. Yes, he has the mobility, but he can't deal with these static defenses. He can't deal outright with the longbow count. Now up to 19 with 12 spearmen to defend them. These Mangudai still very flimsy with insufficient range and only 85 health to brag about. I wouldn't say you should be bragging about it. Yeah, movement speed will to gap close though. Attack speed arrows coming out. Mangudai getting in range of the longbows. Spearman being baited by the horseman, being picked apart by the Mangudai. Now the horseman go in. He has to take the fight. This is the best opportunity he's going to have. The Mangudai tried to overwhelm here. Horseman trying to flood through. Only a few spearmen remaining. The trade out starting to favor B as he's got plenty of horsemen in reserve. More spearmen being pushed, but the longbow's trying to start a step back. Target out the Mangudai. That's a good damn trade right there. 120 food, 40 gold per Mangudai. It's a pricey exchange for B. The horsemen do remain, though. They'll get through the longbows. They'll reset this to a net 0 on each side, and that means a net positive for B as it keeps his trade alive. And it looks like it's going to overwhelm. The new wave is too much. Viper did not push enough spears in the end. The shift was good. The bait out was brilliant from B. He anticipates the move and ensures that when he finally engages with the horseman, Viper is net negative on the spearman count. down from what he needed. He started with 12. By the time the clash comes out, is about 6 to 8. And he knows with this many horsemen, he can actually maintain that fight ahead of Viper, and Viper now pushed back to his own base. The only good news for him is that he at least denied the trade route to the south. The trade route to the north is in full swing now. B up to 15 traders. But Viper, he sees this as an opportunity to go up, saving up for Castle Age now. And B is going to force him to reinvest. I love this move out of B. This is so good. He understands what's happened here. He's reinvested. He hasn't seen the reinvestment out of Viper yet. Not fully. So now, wiping this army, Viper is forced to recommit. He has to build more troops. He has to get a new army up. Otherwise, he's going to be raided in his base, on his eco lines that are wearing thin fast because he went for double TC. That's why the food isn't there yet. I mean, Viper's been waiting on the goal for a long time for this. But food is lagging behind because he has to build additional racks and push more troops. Now switching into man-at-arms. A solid idea here, actually, up against the Spearman and the Mangudai. Will struggle to directly take a fight with them, but that's where the longbow are meant to force the matter. But I love the move now from B. Heading to the south side, getting rid of the outposts. Ensuring that you can open up trade on the more beneficial route, the long route, to get better bang for buck. And also beneficial in the situation when the outpost is looking to set up. Playing to this trade post on the north side is a little bit more dangerous because it's closer to Viper. This one's further off. And it is underway. Viper renewing. Hard in the man-at-arms. You can see on the numbers, it looked like he was going for maybe a tech up, but this is the effect of man-at-arms. Like, this is a switch up that's more expensive. The Spearman was 60 food. This is 100. This is fairly all-in on Feudal. If this doesn't work, if you don't pay dividends, if you don't wipe out the traders, B should be ahead. Those traders need to get the hell out of Dodge right now. Because the longbowmen are coming. Needs to switch the route ASAP. In fact, he hasn't redirected their route just yet, so longbows should be able to pick apart a few of them. The outposts do go up. The Mangudai roll them through here. Looking to deny the outpost from going up. A quick move there. B thinks it's worth the trade, targeting him out. I'm starting to wonder if he even knows about the secondary TC, though, because it doesn't feel the best of trades. That being said, with only 4 longbowmen here, he should be able to shift away from this quickly. While that happens, a small contingent moving on the south side. Looking to intercept, might find problems down here. B still struggling to make his way up, being forced to invest heavily time and time again in these horsemen, these Mangudai. Horsemen that he's now holding back as he's primarily just pushing the Mangudai right now. But this could be an overwhelming victory and a fight for him. The Mangudai count is looking too good, actually. I'm a little bit worried for Viper. We already highlight this, right? The man-at-arms are a good beefy front line, but the longbowmen are required to force the fight. And you don't have that flow anymore. The Yam movement speed is going to take that away from you entirely. An outpost at least does go up, but the outpost will not last long against this. 22 horsemen coming out for B. And that's going to be an overwhelm. These man-at-arms, they're not the full beefcakes they should be. Remember that these are early man-at-arms. They are not teched up into castle. They do not have armor clad. They do not make a great front line in small quantities. And B, well, although he's dealing with small raids on the south side, he obliterates the army in the north. And Viper, remember that he reinvested there. The man-at-arms was pricey investment. It meant that he wasn't able to tech up. He's trying to save for it now, and now we will finally see this. Man-at-arms, they were good, but maybe Viper, this play might have been better 2 minutes ago. Because pushing those man-at-arms, wasting them the way you did, just to try and deny equity from B, I understand the necessity in your mind because the trade can be so powerful, but the cost of entry was too damn high here. And now B will start to fully realize his potential. Moves to the south side, we'll get rid of the small vanguard blocking him here. And although Viper is making his way up in the castle, note that B is not far behind him, about to reach the required quantity of food to go castle himself. And castle is a whole other beast for him. He's got great front line right now. He's going for the Kurultai as well. Come on. Yes, B. This is going to be brilliant. We don't see it often. Kurultai, usually an objective you aim for if you're looking to end the game in the first 5 to 10 minutes of castle. It makes sense with the silver tree, though. It feels naturally good. Usually when you see people go for Kurultai without having a silver tree, it's because like they're like, GG, the game's going to be over in 5. This way, the Kurultai becomes a throwaway, not a necessity, because you already have your gold influx. Usually the step readout is a very big deal for the Mongols, but the way you free yourself that shackle is by going for the silver tree. The silver tree provides plenty of gold. and it means that you have the freedom to go for a Kurultai and even risk it on the front line. Kurultai, for those that haven't seen it because it's been so long, by the way, it heals your units and gives a 25% damage buff, as you can see, for 30 seconds if the Khan's nearby. The one important detail you heard there is the Khan, though. If you lose the Khan, you lose that momentum, so you need to be careful, and this keep by Viper is critical. He gets it up. It's going to force B away. B will look to set up the Kurultai in the center. That's going to heal up the damage done to his pricey Mangudai. But now he needs to switch up. He needs a Siege Workshop on the front line because he cannot get through this alone with Kurultai. I love this, though. The juiced up damage is a brilliant idea. The Khan, if he hops in range, you'll see how this affects things. Also, the Mangudai upgrade should be coming through soon. It's such a big deal here. I would be surprised if B doesn't get it for 350 resources. And B, I love how he's just trading with both trade posts. So he can't be denied fully. He's always going to have something coming in. In fact, when we look at the income per minute, you can see he's very healthy. He's very much ahead of Viper in multiple areas. The food is phenomenal. The wood a little bit better for the snake, but the gold is outright ridiculous for B. And remember, he's doing this in the midfield. And Viper, although he's getting some gold, like he's going to run out on his high ground. He has to play out to the midfield soon. And that's why it's important how he moves out here in the next 5 minutes. He needs to get more keeps down. He needs to get foothold. The Kurultai could be a very big pain in the ass for that. B. Yep, there it is. Sire Bow Limbs, the improved one as well. This is going to be phenomenal. So +2 damage coming out. This is the big deal. Then look at the damage buff. So he just got, so I think he was already +1. He got another +2. And now he's going to get an extra 3 damage on top of that. These Mangudai right now hit as hard as horse archers from the Rus. And they aren't even in elite. They're not even veteran stats, right? They're not even a Castle Age unit yet. He hasn't even got that upgrade. And the Horseman as well, up to 13 damage per strike, and all the healing as well. And you can just see it as well. He's just flexing on him. Maneuver Arik chasing in. Will block the villagers and force them away. Fight underway here. Not to Viper's benefit. You don't really want to be taking this. Mangudai. Focus fire onto the man-at-arms. Longbow starting to trade them out. Horsemen need to wrap onto the Longbows realistically here. You don't need to focus on the man-at-arms first. He's going to move back in range of the Kurultai. The upgrade comes out. Now the chunky boys arrive. 15 damage per strike on the Horsemen as well, meaning they do more damage than the man-at-arms. And they have the momentum as well. Longbow still picking apart some of the Mangudai. But the remaining Horsemen, and now the mix-in of Lance is going to catch Viper off guard. He needs spears. He needs them ASAP. Just denying ground once again. The numbers allowing B to trade out. Remember, he can afford all these gold units. Viper, not the same. It's all about food, and food is a department where B is almost doubling him up now. He is dominating the snake in the eco department. And still, nobody dares to blink for Monastery. Blink for relics, right? They haven't even tried for it. It's remarkable what B has done here. Like, the way he's forced this game, usually by now, we almost always see a play by Viper towards these relics. He sees it as such a valuable commodity, but he hasn't had a chance to think about it. He's always forced to invest his resources into new military forces. And it's because of the way that B has played this. Because of the way he forced his hand with the Silver Tree and the way he keeps reinvesting in the army. There's no breathing room. Treb trying to get rid of the Kurultai. Could be a big deal if he can get rid of it. B, frustrated right now. He no longer has the Kurultai advantage. Remember, the Khan was sniped out there, and you need the Khan alive to actually get that buff. Chase through. Longbow mass is starting to build up to a reasonable quantity, and the attack speed buffer is a problem. B does need to address that first. Also needs to wheel this Kurultai away. It's just being sacrificed right now. Switch over to the outpost now as B looks to get more of them up to keep the Yam network alive. And this outpost is taking so long to torch right now. You need more Lancers being pushed. It looks like they are, but some of them are AFK. It looks like a bit of a miss micro by B. Not as many troops on the front line as he should have. The Mangudai still not being buffed. We are 20 seconds away from that. Kurultai finally packed up, needs to wheel it back. Might have to fall for some ground, and that's the important detail. Do not lose this Kurultai buff, right? You lose it not by losing the building, but by losing the Khan. The Khan is an easy target. Khan has 300 health. Kurultai has 5,000. And I love that Viper identified that. Like, a lot of players wouldn't have done it. Here we go. New Khan is here. 300 health. Should not make you easy to take down, but the Longbows make it quite problematic. The extra range can catch you off guard. Each of these hit for 10 damage. 20 Longbows, so half your health gone in a single volley. Here we go. Buff comes out. Juicing those Lancers up to a hefty 46 damage from the Lance Strike. This could be big, but he's a little bit hesitant right now. He's biding his time. Kurultai heavily damaged, but look at the flood out. He baits him in. Viper got a little bit too close to the sun. He's going to get burnt for this. Mangudai on the front line from the Englishman. Not going to be good enough, though. Viper is going to have to give over a lot of ground here. The Lancers are rushing through. The Yam speed is just too much. It's going to overwhelm him. He can target out what he wants. Mangudai getting in range, looking onto those longbows. Mangudai trying to focus them out, but the Lancers are going to torch it down, and it looks like it's going to be a full retreat coming out for Viper. He puts down the pains to try and delay the assault, but the siege is lost, and the longbow line is going to be lost as well, as the Mangudai do gap close upon him with 16 damage per shot. It's going to force a retreat. Viper at least has this buffer point, this retreat point at the keep. But any ground he gained has just been forfeited as B forces the matter. And now B continue to escalate up to 23 traders. Very healthy in this situation. His eco up at 84, 85 in fact, and Viper, he's lagging behind him. 81 villages because of the amount of villages he has sacrificed trying to build these outposts. Once again, the Kurultai give that juice up, increasing damage. Look at that. What a beaut right there. And instantly will turn around and start moving back towards his opponent. This is a very fragile strategy that B's running, by the way. The Kurultai is a big advantage, but the weakness is that it forces you to choose whether your Khan should be on the front line. It's not easy to use your Khan aggressively while also making sure he maintains the Kurultai buff. A lot of people would actually choose to just keep the Khan away, but B wants to maximize his efficiency here because of the arrows. The arrows are such a critical detail here. He doesn't want to give it over. Kurultai rolling out. Need to be careful. No missile resistance when it's unpacked. Or when it's packed up, rather. Here we go. B will push forward with the Khan again. Chasing through the Kurultai buff. Everyone juiced up. The armor arrow coming out as well, so they can't even focus fire him down. They're going to flood through. Spearman line will not hold for long here. The Kurultai buff is just making this so trivial right now. In fact, when we look at the military side of things, B is massacring Viper. And you can say his units are more pricey, but you've got the attack speed buffer. It's not like you're a complete disadvantage to the English here. But B is making it look that way. The Khan just not even an easy target anymore. B starting to escalate his military district. Getting more pashes as well. Making sure he can maintain the flow because, oh, he ran out of food. He ran out of food. Big deal here. B, with a lot of idle eco, is going to look to fix that as almost 30 villagers will get back to work gathering food. Doesn't want to fall behind Viper here. Viper starting to extend out past his initial means. He needs all the wood he can get. Problem is, after this wood line, you're playing into the center. It's a fragile state of the game because everything is building these wood, right? He's building outposts, he's building spearmen, he's building longbows. Yes, man-at-arms are free of the wood cost, but most of your composition is wood. It's one of the heaviest investments you're making. I'd say it's like about 35% wood, 50% food, and then 15% gold. Something like that. So you can see how important it is. In fact, when we look at the count, you can see 40 villages on food, almost 30 on wood. Gold, kind of irrelevant with only 10. And the longbows, ooh, need to be careful about this fight. Mr. Viper. Mangudai, bait in the choke point. Nice move there, actually. I love the Viper starting to do this. The longbow are the one that can bait, the ones that can bait you in, right? Remember what happened in the early fights? The mistake the Viper made is he threw away his spearmen because, like, they got baited out from the formation. He needs to actually, like, maximize them as a threat instead of using them outright. So the longbowman can pick his opponent apart. And here we go. Auras on both sides. Kurultai being used once again by B. Needs to be careful with that Khan. Doesn't want to lose him. Keeps him in the back of the formation. Still 190 health. Slowly healing up via his passive heal and the Kurultai. Longbows being ignored for the moment. Mangudai being targeted down. But now the Lancers are free to chase through onto the longbows. And Viper taking a damn good fight there. And the longbow count continually increasing here. But now the rush forward. B. He wants to force the matter, unable to do so, though. And now up to 30 longbowmen, you can see that he's starting to escalate. Meanwhile, B is shrinking. B, you need more production, my friend. He's starting to produce more traders, trying to get the numbers up. It's the food that crippled him. That was the issue, missing out on the production from the pastures. I think that slowed down his production rate, and it meant that he fell behind. And now, all of a sudden, Viper takes advantage of that because he has infinite food on all these farms. He never has to worry about over-calibrating, overshooting it in terms of food gathering, because it's sheep compared to farms. That Kurultai never being repaired. B shriveling up right now. Viper, Paling's in the choke point, doesn't get them down quick enough. Spearman to hold his opponent at bay here. He's going to force him back. Rooted on the spot, will lose 1 or 2 more of the Lancers. Make that free. Kurultai buff is still threatening for Viper. But He doesn't let it phase him. Notice that he's moving in and slowly taking out the Kurultai. Once the Kurultai is gone, these fights that right now seem quite even are going to get one-sided. It's very important that B doesn't lose this structure. Same with the Khan. Khan. He's got the defense area. He's going to rush in here. He needs to get on top of those longbows. Keep being constructed. Viper forcing the fight, making sure that B has to dive him. Longbows are backing up. I don't know if you want to dive you anymore. The Mangudai count, the Lancer count is too high. You can't get the keep up. More villagers are going to be sacrificed. The front line being sacrificed as well. Mistakes have been made. Viper with only 2 man-at-arms as his front line. The longbows are now going to be overwhelmed as the Mangudai do move in with a superior damage trading out effectively here. The longbows, even the attack speed buffer, cannot deal with this. The Khan even joining in the fight. Diving deeper. The keep cannot go up. The longbow count is shrinking. This fight is going back and forth. Nobody taking a clear lead. Every time one person seems to take a step forward, they instantly take 2 steps back. Keep still going up though in the meantime. That's the important detail. Viper pulling even more villagers to keep the dream alive here. New front line coming out. His forces rejuvenated. Lancers may need to be thrown away just to get rid of the villagers, and that's exactly what's happening here as B moves in. Mangudai trading out as the longbowmen try to focus out the Lancers. Mistakes being made there. And once again, the villagers are down. Once again, Viper is denied this critical element to his strategy. The keep crawl will not be complete. Has to pull more villagers. Numbers are somewhat shrinking for B. B needs to get them on the front line faster than this. Yeah, movement speed is not always being maintained. One big mistake being made here is B. He hasn't built any sort of outpost in his base. He isn't juicing up the movement speed of his trade. He's not juicing up the movement speed of his villagers. And he's not juicing up the movement speed of his Mangudai. Why is there not an outpost here? Finally, B will realize it. But think about how much loss there has been because of this. Constantly being outnumbered because Viper gets his troops to the front line quicker, and he ensures that is going to be the case as we move forward, as he moves into the center with a proxy base. I don't think you can even call it a proxy base, actually. It's just an extension of the main as he floods out. And B, I mean, this was a big mistake. His trade hasn't been efficient. Half of his trade route has not been Yam buffed. His eco early on was not Yam buffed. So much Yam buff missing. B, looking quite rusty here. It just seems very unlike him. It's just such a big mistake. It's such a big thing to overlook. Mongol players don't forget this these days. And I think that Rust is showing a little armor arrow coming out. B moving in, looking to unpack the Kurultai to give the buff over. It's going to take a little bit of time to deploy though. Lines do start to spread out, and there it is. He gets juiced up. Go on, trying to limp away. Just about gets out of range. The longbows tried to fixate themselves upon him. The focus fire was not good enough. The Khan will survive, and thus the healing, the juice up and damage keeps coming out. B microing on the edge to make sure the longbows can never reach him. The front line is down. B will be able to push the longbow back again. However, the push out is starting to just get insurmountable for B. I mean, it's 64 versus 14. I just don't know how B keeps holding this. It's more ground being given over, and now with the Khan being so close to death, you can't even gamble him on the front line. Kurultai retreating again. Outposts. Trying to get those sprinkled upgrades to stabilize a little bit. The Kurultai now on fire means you're going to have to pull some villagers and have to full retreat this out. And I love this focus fire. Remember, whenever you pack these up, they get 0 missile resistance, meaning they take full damage from the longbows, which is exactly why Viper focus fired it down. Ay, ay, ay. So much ground for Viper now. And it opens up the wiggle room for the Trebs. I don't know. I feel like B, it comes back to these outposts not being there, like not having that Yam movement speed. He essentially was his own worst nightmare. Like he crippled his own strategy here. Not even one villager being pulled to repair the Kurultai either, so that's going to be burnt down soon. I'm wondering what's up with B. This doesn't seem like him. I mean, sometimes you see these kind of weird throws because he does a weird cheeky strategy or whatever, but it doesn't even feel like that. It just feels like he forgot about the Yam. Finally, the villagers will be pulled to repair the Kurultai, so we'll at least keep that alive. But B taking a little bit of breathing room to rebuild his army. My concern, however, is Viper is ready to go now, and you're not. You can see the pop cap. It's about to reach 200. Meanwhile, B still 40 away. Sieging continues. Trebuchets taking their time, breaching through the outpost defenses. After that, your eco is going to be exposed. Although B does have surplus built with the gold, it's going to drop fast when you keep pushing Mangudai and Lancers. I guess that's one of my bigger concerns is Viper hasn't really been losing any sort of defenses he's been building, right? That was someone we were looking for. When this outpost went up a while ago, I was expecting B to maybe get an out... Like, well, actually, it wasn't even that. It was the keep that made me assume that B would go for Siege Workshop and get traction traps. He never did. He never got rid of the attack speed. He didn't respect the auras in this game. He forgot about his own back at base, and he ignored the aura benefits that Viper was reaping in these fights, and it's why he's miles behind now with every fight he takes. I mean, that kill lead is deceitful because the one in control is the one with the more raised buildings right now. Viper just starting to get rid of the auras. A rush through from the Lancers onto the Trebuchets, though, will at least be a good initial trade for B. But now the Mangudai with a Kurultai on fire, with the Khan being dead, you don't have that attack speed buffer for long. It's going to run out in about 20 seconds, at which point you can't even take the fight against the longbow. Not that you can now anyway. And the Imperial Age coming out from Viper. He doesn't wait around. He gets the pressure up, and he gets the tech up. And now B is lost in the woods, surrounded by snakes. The Mangudai will rush in, but the trade out will not be good, my friend. The Kurultai will try to wheel away. Being ignored as it will just target out the village of the Mangudai instead. B is shriveling up in the face of English danger here. And Viper, I mean, this, it's the writing is on the wall. I don't see how you come back at this stage. B ever trying to recover. Khan still dead for 60 seconds. 60 seconds to see you lose the front of your base. And also, meanwhile, on the north side, he tries to stabilize the trade because he's lost the long route. But I don't think that's going to last long either. The man-at-arms are moving out now before the outpost can maybe even get their springed upgrades. Meanwhile, the pressure continues in the center. Outpost being targeted down. Trebuchets making sure the outpost network is disintegrated here. And it's just been the story of the game. One player acknowledges the importance of their aura everywhere. The other, whoopsie daisy, seems I forgot it. Oh my, oh my. Lombow's moving in. Viper making it look too surgical the way he just picks apart any new spawns. And B, he hasn't waved that white flag yet. He's got maybe one Ura left in him, but you can't wait until pop cap anymore. Like, it'll be too late by then. Don't make a mistake here, folks. I know most elite units have golden hats, but these are elite units with their silver hats. The Lombos are mighty strong now. The Mangudai are not. New Khan comes out. This is his do or die moment. He needs to push him out. Tries to overwhelm him, moves in now with the armor arrow. Longbowman trying to trade out in the meantime. A little bit greedy from Viper not to send in a small contingent of man-at-arms, but they were finding value elsewhere. They found the trade line. They've cut B off at his source. Now he has 2k surplus gold and little more, as he will not be trading anymore in this game. But he can at least trade out well militarily. In the center, pushes his opponent back. The screwed upgrades ironically being used against the Mongols. Yes, you might take an initial good fight, but it's hard to see how you flood through all these static defenses, the keeps as well. Like, they've been unanswered this entire time, and I think that is what B will reflect upon. When he looks back at this game, the thing that cost him this game is that he didn't address the build-up in the center. He didn't get rid of the outpost or the keeps, and it made it all too easy for Viper to win the aura battle. A critical detail to the English success. A critical detail that will give Viper the win.